Excise tax, and I understand the principal basis for which we might request the government review their position. If they're not inclined to do so, there's also an issue with, or an opportunity with labeling, is there not, to reduce the costs associated or placed on producers that could save them significant amounts of money?
Yes, the operation of the excise tax, which includes this stamp, which is quite an onerous application on the wide variety of products that we have, as well as the means of remitting excise in its own right, are two operational matters which could be addressed and significantly assist with bottom line costs for cannabis operators. I could say also that there's a regulatory fee which we pay, which is a priority that we have advanced to the government that they might get at to offer more urgent relief.
Right. And my understanding is the overburdened requirements for physical labeling create a lot of costs for producers. And so if you moved to, or accepting like a digital label, a scanned QR code, you wouldn't even have to touch the excise tax. You could strip out a lot of costs for industry, correct?
Yeah, it's true that this is in a certain sense what we might call a non-cost item for government. It's governments, because obviously the provinces and territories are partners in this matter, but that would be an opportunity to significantly abate operating costs. Anyone that's purchased a cannabis product, and if you haven't, go try one out. We have a range of products, including, we can't bring samples, sadly that's not legal, but I was anticipating the question. I think that anybody that's witnessed, we have a stamp model where for every province and territory, a producer must apply that province or territory stamp. They're real tricky. It's pretty much a manual process, which makes it very expensive. And worst is a circumstance where if you shipped your product, say, to Saskatchewan and it wasn't moving, and you wanted to bring it back and reapply it into Manitoba, the stamps have to be removed by hand. They have to be stuck to a piece of paper. They have to be resubmitted to CRA. And for anyone that you lose, you have a $30 fine and 6 months to wait to get paid back, etc. So this is an area of significant opportunity for operational cost reduction without losing anything, if you will, from the revenue side for governments.
How many times is a producer audited per year by CRA?
The producer is audited by CRA, I think, at least quarterly. The thing is that actually audits that were in place before COVID fell off during COVID, and has created quite a conundrum for a lot of companies who've gotten kind of out of sorts with CRA, which is causing for some very, very aggressive collections work at the moment. There's a lot of duplicative auditing also, where we have a regulatory system called CTLS that Health Canada runs, and very frequently the audits that we're involved in with CRA are a duplication of the same information that's already been shared in those systems.
Thank you. That's very helpful. If they move to the excise sticker to a digital one, makes no difference, can save a lot of money, and we can move on. Mr. Asselin, the government's had a varying number of fiscal anchors over 8 years. A tweet from the Minister of Finance yesterday seems to indicate the new fiscal anchor is we have the lowest debt in the G7, and we have the lowest debt to GDP in the G7. In your mind, does that count as a fiscal anchor? And if not, I think you recommended one, and maybe explain why. We've got 30 seconds, and I'll stay on time for the chair.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Yes, I think the debt anchor that the government has right now is not one that's going to be able to meet, frankly. Debt to GDP ratio is going to go up this year and probably next year, which unfortunately for the government doesn't look like the fiscal anchor will be respected. We think that the debt, 10% of debt servicing costs to 10% of revenues is reasonable, and we think that it will prevent all the bad things that I explained earlier.